Welcome to everyone. We're starting a new book today. As we promised, it's the book of Ruth. The most interesting thing out of all this, and there is a lot of interesting things, is the fact that this is Christ's bloodline. So you see how there's no physical blood that is going to make someone saved. Christ himself has this Moabitess, Ruth, in his bloodline. But it also peers into a lot of things here in these 4 chapters about the culture of this time, about the things going on back here. There's little bits of information that are very fascinating when it comes to knowing the past and the history of our saints, and Ruth was certainly that. There's a test of faith in here, and acknowledgement of faith, and coming out with the works. And so anyway, with that in mind, we'll go to chapter 1, and it's entitled The Book of Ruth. And it's Elimelech, driven by famine into Moab, dieth there. Mahalan and Chilion, having married wives of Moab, die also. Naomi, returning homeward, dissuadeth her 2 daughters-in-law from going with her. And like Ophrah, leaveth her, but Ruth with great, she's consistently staying with her. She accomplishes this and stays with her. They too come to Bethlehem, where they are gladly received. Now notice here, in a foreshadowing type thing, how she comes to Bethlehem, where isn't it fitting that Ruth the Moabitess, that's in Christ's bloodline, comes to Bethlehem? Interesting, huh? All right, here we go. In verse 1, chapter 1 in the book of Ruth. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land. And a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. Okay, and now we know the time of this with verse 1. We know that it was the time of judges. Okay, there was no king. We know, we got the names of some of this, even, say for instance, there was Deborah the prophetess, even Samson. There was Gideon. There was a time of these judges. Many interesting things happened during this time, so we're going to thoroughly study it again. Okay, so that's the time that we're in, which is a fairly broad period of time, but they gave it to you here. And 2, it says, and the name of the man was Elimelech. And see, I kind of think of old Eli the priest, and then Melech is a term. It's actually like a king, God man, Melech term from this time period. But anyway, that's his name, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons, Mahalan and Chilion, Ephrathites, of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there, period. Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left, and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Ophrah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. And Mahalan and Chilion died also, both of them, and the women and the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. New paragraph in 6. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. It says, wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her. And they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. In 8 it says, and Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dead and with me. 9, the Lord grant you that you may find rest, each of you, in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And they said unto her, surely we will return with thee unto thy people. And Naomi said, turn again, my daughters. Why will you go with me? ? Are there yet any more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? ? 12, turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have an husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should have a husband also tonight, and should also bear sons, would ye tarry for them till they were grown? ? Would ye stay for them from having husbands? ? Nay, my daughters, for it grieveth me much for your sakes, that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me. Notice her love here in putting these 2 ahead of her own help. This is some agape love here out of Naomi, isn't it? In 14 it says, and they lift up their voice and wept again, and Ophrah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her. 15, and she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people, and unto her gods. Okay, little g, of course. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee, for whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. All right, that's an important one here, folks, because the doctrine of Yahshua, Yahweh, is for all peoples. And it's written right in the law of Moses that if a stranger came and was willing to go by the laws of God, that you were not to forbid him from coming with you and being circumcised and doing the will of God. And you were not to be unkind to the stranger. All right, so see, there's a time and a place to apply all this. But notice here how Ruth is shunning those gods, poo-pooing those gods, a little g, and said, hey, your God's going to be my God. So there you are. In 17, where thou diest, will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. How about that? You see, she's got a big heart, don't she? In 18, when she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left off speaking unto her. 19, so they too went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them. And they said, is this Naomi? ? And she said unto them, call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. Okay, what's that mean, folks? Table people.
It means bitter.
Well, it means bitter, but it's also one of the sacred names in the Egyptian mystery school. How do you like that? That's one of the reasons the pagans mock Christianity, as God chose Mother Mary, you see, to be father of Christ. Okay? And this Mara goes all the way back, folks. She's saying it means bitterness, but there's no bitterness any worse than the occult religions of the mystery school of Egypt. And there, the goddess Mara is sacred. It's a sacred name. And this is one of the slaps in the face that the Lord gives to the Egyptian gods and all the people following it. And one of the reasons I know this is the complaint that we get from the occult people that say, they claim, you stole this from us. And of course that's a bunch of baloney. But there it is, Mara, and according to the table lady here, it means bitter.
So it's like the waters of Meribah with Moses?
She's talking about like the waters of Meribah, and that would be bitter waters.
Right.
You see? Well, is there any water any more bitter than the water that flows from the Egyptian mystery school? Anyway, we tossed that around a little for everybody, and there it is, Mara. 21, I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me honey home again, empty. I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me? This sounds like Job here, doesn't it? Question mark. Well, the Bible says this. It's, King Solomon said it. The book of Psalms says it. That sorrow will be turned to joy someday. if you keep your faith. All right, in 22, so Naomi returned, and Ruth, the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, went with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest. Okay, and that's going to be significant. All right, there's a little look into this bloodline, this very godly ladies, and that's chapter 1. But here we are in chapter 2, and Ruth gleaneth the fields of Boaz. Okay, this is Christ's bloodline here. Boaz taketh knowledge of her, and sheweth her great favor. That which she got, she carried to Naomi. Verse 1, and Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field, and glean ears of corn after him. In whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and her hap was to light on a part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was the kindred of Elimelech. Period. All right, so it happened. All right, so you see how God is guiding this? Well, of course he is. This is Christ's bloodline, and where that was happening, there's no accidents, is there? And this gleaning after the reapers, see, it was in the law of God to go ahead and leave a little bit for the poor, who would come up and pick up the rest of it. Okay, you weren't to totally deplete the trees or the field or the corn. You were to leave some for the poor. That was the law of Moses. In 4 it says, in a new paragraph, and behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and said unto the reapers, the Lord be with you. And they answered him, the Lord bless thee. Then said Boaz unto his servant that was set over the reapers, whose damsel is this? Question mark. And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, it is the Moabitish damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers amongst the sheaves. So she came and had continued even from the morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. Okay, notice that she's not lazy either, not afraid to work. And so there's that, another quality of Ruth. It says in 8, and said Boaz unto her, then said Boaz unto her, then said Boaz unto Ruth, hearest thou not, my daughter? Question mark. Go not to glean in another field, neither go from hence, but abide here fast by my maidens. In 9, let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap, and go thou after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? Question mark. All right, so he ordered, keep your hands off of her. And when thou art athirst, go unto the vessels and drink of that which the young men have drawn. Okay, so this is coming true. There's favor being found here, is there not? In 10, then she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground and said unto him, Why have I found grace in thine eyes, that thou shouldest take knowledge of me, seeing I am a stranger? ? And Boaz answered and said unto her, It hath fully been shewed me, all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thine husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother, and the land of thy nativity, and art come to a people which thou knewest not heretofore. 12. The Lord recompense thy work, and a full reward be given thee of the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings thou art come to trust. Are we seeing an innuendo here, folks? Are we seeing a lesson about life here? She trusted. She's into a people that aren't her, what you call blood relatives, per se. And she's willing to find this God. And she already knows this God inside of herself. Giving her the insights here. And she's working hard here. And it's not easy. It's not easy not to have a helper. Your husband is your helper. She's lost her husband and she has no helper. And yet she's saddled up and she's working. 13. Then she said, Let me find favor in thy sight, my Lord, for that thou hast comforted me, and for that thou hast spoken friendly unto thine handmaid, though I be not like unto one of thy handmaidens. 14. And Boaz said unto her at mealtime, Come thou hither, and eat of the bread, and dip thy morsel in the vinegar. And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached her parched corn, and she did eat, and was sufficed, and left. In 15, and when she was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, Let her glean even among the sheaves, and reproach her not. So she's really finding the favor here, isn't she? And let fall also some of the handfuls of purpose for her, and leave them that she may glean them, and rebuke her not. So leave a little bit on purpose here. In 17, so she gleaned in the field until even, and beat out that she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley, and that's the measurement. That's in the balances, and everything was weighed out in balances back here. It doesn't matter, gold, silver, food, flour. The monetary consideration was the ephah, the measurement, one of them. In 18, new paragraph, and she took it up and went into the city, and her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, and she brought forth and gave to her that she had reserved, after she was sufficed. 19, and her mother-in-law said unto her, Where hast thou gleaned today? Question mark. And where wroughtest thou? Blessed be he that did take knowledge of thee. Period. And she shewed her mother-in-law with whom she had wrought, and said, The man's name with whom I wrought today is Boaz. 20. And Naomi said unto her daughter-in-law, Blessed be he of the Lord, who hath not left off his kindness to the living and to the dead. Okay? So what do we mean by that? He's not talking about being kind to people who went to hell. So that's out. Talking about being kind to the people that have passed on when they're living or here. It's like you go to a funeral and there's a widow or an orphan there and you're kind to that house. Anyway, you're kind to the widow. She's lost her husband. And that's kindness to the person that's passed on. That's their house. And Naomi said unto her, The man is near of kin unto us, one of our next kinsmen. 21. And Ruth the Moabitess said, He said unto me also, Thou shalt keep fast by my young men until they have ended all my harvest. 22. And Naomi said unto her, and Naomi said unto Ruth, her daughter-in-law, It is good, my daughter, that thou go out with his maidens, that they meet thee not in any other field. 23. So she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz to glean unto the end of barley harvest and of wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law. Period. So that's very fascinating. And here we see the humbleness of all this. You see, back here. And this is all during the time of the judges. And we remember in the judges how the Philistines went back and forth and Samson was there. Hey, how long did Samson judge? Was it 20 years? I think it was 20 years that Samson judged. Okay. So we had Deborah the prophetess. That's an interesting one. And there was another Baruch that was with her, but it's not the same Baruch, of course, as Jeremiah's scribe. All right, so we have a lot of interesting things that go on during Judges. Even the fight. We're talking about this Gideon, and his real name was Jerubbaal. And he goes up and smashes all he hates the high places, right? And all the people want to kill him. They're all involved with the Baal worship in the high places. And they all want to slaughter him. In fact, that name, let Baal take care of himself is the meaning to that name. So this fight with Baal worship and all that is throughout this time of the judges, where there wasn't a king. There wasn't a king, and God would set people to judge the house. So this is the time period we're talking about here. And yet the mystery school and the Baal worship, the priest of Belial, all that is going strong. And it's going strong inside of Moab. And so you see how it is that even though here's a land that is steeped in the devilish religions, there's still this remnant. And that remnant goes on. It doesn't matter what your bloodlines are. It doesn't matter whether you're Egyptian. It doesn't matter that you're from Babylon. It doesn't matter whether you're black, white, male, or female. All of that is irrelevant. Here we have Ruth. You can see what a good heart that she has here. And it's a short book. And we're going to see how God was in the middle of all this. Even if you take there in the book of Tobit, how all that was ordained. The 7 suitors, okay, you had Asmodeus the demon that killed all 7 suitors. And yet God already knew that this was going to be Tobias's wife by right, and sent the strong angel to make sure that that was done. Okay? And when it comes to Samson, he was not a bad guy during this time, with his fight with the Philistines and their god Dagon and their human sacrifice and their contacting of spirits through the other dimension, through the portholes and the ley lines. All that went on in their temples. God put it in Samson's heart to want the other ladies from the Philistines, in this case Delilah, and that was done so that he could plague them. As we know that house came a-tumbling down, didn't it, at Samson's death. So we have judges that are in and out. They're appointed by God. And this is the time, there's a fight there, so for these people to be accepting of her, no matter what her race is. The fact that they're not prejudiced here against her. And as you're seeing here, this is coming true, that as she's finding favor in his eyes, and we're going to see more of that here as we go into chapter 3 and 4. Okay, this is a good look at this time period and Christ's bloodline. So I hope to see you there in chapter 3 on the next pod. Bye-bye.